Welcome to Bringing the Outside In exhibition at Greenspace, Miami. I'm excited to share my work with you. As you can see, we have a lot of interesting pieces on display, and I'd love to guide you through them. What catches your eye first?
The horse behind you on the picture, is that a horse?
I don't see a horse in the picture, but I do see a lot of beautiful flowers and vibrant textiles. Perhaps you're looking at a different part of the exhibition?
Is it a
Can you
statue?
tell me more? It seems like we've taken a bit of a detour from the exhibition. I'd love to get back to exploring the artwork with you. Can you tell me what you see in front of you and how it makes you feel? What do you think the artwork is trying to say?
It looks like
This idea of visual literacy too is that, like, I think we're at a point in our like the evolution of the artistic form that, like, we need to start thinking about technology a little bit more holistically in the sake of, like, in the sense that its impact on cultural production is undeniable, and to best use it would be to understand it. And so there needs to be some sort of, like, mode of learning more about it. And I think that it also requires that institutions take a little bit of a lead in being able to speak to not only the artists but, like, audiences about, like, the pitfalls and how AI is used in creative industries. And again, one of the things I really love about Med Foundation is that I think this idea of tech literacy at the intersection of art is valued. And I think that's, like, that plays very deeply into, like, what we need here, which is the density to support, the density and the vigorousness to be able to support making those, or shaping those tools ourselves and not letting that shape our creative practices.
That's a great segue to kind of, like, explore how.
Yeah, I want to first circle back a little bit to the idea of artificial intelligence.
Yes.
There is no such thing as artificial intelligence. It is machine learning algorithms. There is no sentiment being behind that algorithm. It mimics how we behave, and it looks like we are interacting with something that is there but is not. So I want to have that kind of a first critical distance. There is a lot of bias because those who build the algorithms, they do, they use the data sets and whatever they have inside the black box codes in a way that is focused more on market-oriented, data extractivist-oriented mechanisms for profits that are not actually connected with art. Actually, as you know, OpenAI opens as a non-profit to drag all the information online, and then they use this information for profit. So we are facing a complex situation on the technology level that is not, first, artificial intelligence is machine learning. Second, it is more like a mimic relation with the algorithm, that it looks like we are having a conversation with a human being that is not there. And third is using image from actual artists for generate what we are consuming. So without a critical distance with artificial intelligence, we are playing with fire, or even kind of following the kind of the branches that are designed to be followed. So I want.
Yeah, I think people have been fascinated with how can we make intelligence, and so that's still not done. Probably really far away. The brain and human being is really amazing. But in that journey, what have we done?
Wait, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You think you're gonna get there?
I don't. I think there's a gap. There's a gap between computers and technology, and the spirit, the mind, the brain.
Yeah, it's almost like
there's a void, a bridge maybe too far to cross, right? I guess given enough time, who knows what's possible, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not one of these believers that thinks we're gonna have computers thinking on their own, like Rodolfo was saying. But to take you on the journey really quick, like, what have computers done? Computers have done a really good job at maybe predicting what's going to come next. on a spreadsheet, on a forecast. You know, if we're budgeting, if we're looking at financing, maybe the weather a little bit, has weather prediction gotten that much better? Computers have done, machine learning has done good at recognizing things. If we've had a phone and we've taken a picture, we see a little box get drawn around the face, well that's, you know, machine learning, right? It's recognizing a face. But what's happened now that's different is we're not just predicting a number or, you know, classifying whether something's there or not. We're creating information. But we're creating information that's interesting and useful to us. I think part of the reason why it's interesting and useful to us is because it's so new. I think, you know, speaking to someone here, they were using it for grants, right? But when you got into the details, you still had to review everything. But it really surprised you on the surface at the beginning how well it did. So we can generate information now. We can generate text if we want to generate a poem, if we want to write a story. We can generate audio, because that's information too. We can generate pixels, art, right? It's generative AI. And that's what's really disruptive is not only can we generate, but the way that we do it is in everybody's hand. Anyone can take out their phone and you can generate information. So I think that's gonna continue. But I think it's important we get more people in the space understanding the technology because we need more diversity. The models are called general models for a reason because they're general purpose. We've taken everything and put it all together to be able to get an output. But that doesn't mean it's one size fits all. We have culture, we have language, we have nuance. We're individuals, we're not a collective. So the more people we can get into the space that can understand generative AI, that can understand the machine learning models, that can help make their own data sets and make models that can create, you know, more personalized models that resonate with cultures and individuals, the better. And if we don't do that, concern I have is that we'll continue down the track of these generalized models that'll drive culture. And I think we want to drive the models. We don't want the models to drive us.
I don't know, but like how, because that really is indicative in your work, where you, if you don't know her work, she really introduces this kind of safe space where people can be who they are. And so in terms of using the technology, it's really in a way of acceptance, which I think is, yeah, very seductive, really quite lovely.
2022, I was paying attention to the outputs from Midjourney, from Crayon, which is now Dolly, so I might be dating myself on that, and also from Stable Diffusion. I was interested in seeing what people were creating and making, so, you know, I was seeing a very masculine representation of female bodies, highly sexualized, you know, big boobs, big butts, tiny waists, all over the place, or anime-ish type of female hybrids type of thing. Also, I was interested in how it was interpreting the future and what that would look like, and there was a lot of Ex Machina or Star Wars or Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome kind of scenarios in all three of those systems. So then I was like, okay, let me go to Google and search how it interprets a fat female. And Google's first image that came up was a fat female eating a big giant hamburger. Because you don't know she's fat unless if she's eating a burger, right? It's like anytime I look up a skinny female, I should see them on an exercise equipment because we wouldn't know she's skinny if she's not exercising. So I realized, okay, there are biases not only in Google, but the AI is being trained on these biases, and that output is all over Midjourney, everywhere. So I tried to say, okay, you know, show me a beautiful fat female, you know, frolicking, and maybe even kissing Ryan Gosling, right? Let's hope.
Just maybe.
Just maybe. And the output that came to me was kind of a grotesque, half-humanish type of female body. Not Kevin Bacon, but Francis Bacon, sorry. Who doesn't love Kevin Bacon too?
6
But
degrees of Francis Bacon.
Yeah. Francis Bacon-ish type of representation of fat female eating Ryan Gosling. Yeah. So, you know, as an artist, I spent quite a bit of time researching the outputs from the different systems on how it interprets a female's body. And by the way, a fat female is a size 6 and up, according to our standards. So, you know, that was an interesting, you know, I've collected all this data, and that then was like, okay, how do I train my own dragon? And I actually gave a talk called How to Train a Dragon, and talked about my experiences of the body and AI and whatnot. So I agree with Rodolfo in talking about how we need to, and also Andrew, and how we need to research and see how these things work before moving forward in how we want to position them or position ourselves within them. And I decided, you know, as an artist, that I wanted to see how I can affect and or change the algorithmal biases that are existing, and spend quite a lot of time doing that with DALL-E, predominantly by feeding it, one, my own original paintings, 2 paintings that I actually created in my oil painting studio in the metaverse, and 3, by learning how to have conversations with it. And it took like 3 series of work in order for me to get a beautifully decent representation of a fat female body, although her hands and her feet are not perfect. She has maybe 6 or 7 fingers, and her feet are kind of webbed-like, but I really kind of like that in the process because it's a very human problem as an artist and also as an art instructor or professor. Teaching how to draw hands and feet is one of the most difficult aspects of life drawing. So I was like, okay, this AI has a very human problem too.
So I would say it starts as a task manager, a tool, right? And then through a complex series of negotiations, sometimes becomes a collaborator. I come into contact with a lot of artists who are kind of espouse the exact same things, but oftentimes it's a little bit complicated too, because when approaching a new technology or something like that, there's a lot of questions that one might have, right? Is this for me? Am I competent enough to, does my technical competency allow me to use it? Is it, what are the ethical implications of, and I think, we really, at least Locus Projects try to, sort that out and also help artists better understand that. As far as AI being a collaborator though, it's funny because those outputs or everything that goes into figuring out the authorship issue of it is very complicated and something that we're still trying to work out as an industry. But for the most part, starts as a task manager or a tool, oftentimes ends up as a collaborator. This opportunity for obfuscation of labor, which is something that I think in the art world, people want to see you on the ladder, off the ladder, depending upon what context it is you're showing your work, whether it's the institution or the gallery or an alternative art space. So just want to raise that point too. I find that very interesting.
Working with technology, I started with drawing and painting and sculpture, and when I was graduating from my BFA program and I didn't have a studio space anymore, I was like, okay, I'm gonna buy a MacBook and try to learn how to use that and only create with everything that it comes with and nothing more. And because it was so tragic for me to have to get rid of my sculptures and my paintings and all of these things, I was always thinking about the space that I would inhabit as an artist, as part of my practice. So for a couple of years, I didn't go off to grad school right away. I took a couple of years and I worked with technology, and I worked with Sims in my final year, and I did portraits of everybody that was in my sculpture class, using the game to create them. And I asked each of them to fill out a survey that would create their personalities as well. So I had an image of each of them, and with the Sims gaming, there's personality traits, likes and dislikes that are asked as part of the gaming system, and I had everybody fill them out. I created the avatars and made the choices, and my professor kept talking about us all applying to Skowhegan, which is this residency that we were supposed to be achieving to go to. So I made avatars of everybody, and I put them in what I thought Skowhegan was. And I made a piece called My Big Fat Summer in Skowhegan with all of my classmates. And you can choose to let the algorithms either be, I can control them completely, they can be mildly controlled and somewhat autonomous, or they could be completely autonomous. And I started off with making them autonomous. So it was a really interesting project that nobody had really understood at that time, but it was funny and fascinating because everybody could see themselves in these different ways. And when I went off to grad school, so I went to FAU, I went to FIU, I am from New York and also South Florida educated. I don't know, take that how you want to. But it was a challenge. Most of my MFA program was me defending my use of technology as a tool. So for me, that was the beginning of this conversation.
I know. In fact, and I
thinking about that.
And I asked her, hey, Adrienne, can I share something with you? And I sent her this email I got from someone after I invited them to this panel. And I was asking her how she feels because, and Adrienne, mentioned to me that has dealt with that, right? Your entire, you mentioned just now, like you've been having to defend that. And I just find that email was for me, was even the purpose of why we're having this conversation.
Yeah.
I think many of those who came today are maybe because you're aligned towards what we're kind of talking about, but this person was like, AI is the death to modern culture of, this whole poem of objecting to it, which I find fascinating actually. And I think we'll dive into that as well today as to how do we respond to those things. But you just wanted to share that the anecdote that happened just a couple of days ago. Because I think as artists, right, we deal with that in this space, no?
Definitely. I think people, aren't you afraid of it?
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, I'm afraid to not work with it because I see what the output is, and a lot of my work is trying to reprogram it. And like Andrew said about the, sweat labor and everything, I mean, I've gone to the hospital from my sculpture falling on my head and cutting my head open, but all of my experiences IRL inform my experiences in the virtual realm, or what I like to call the virtual real world that I get to create when I have the opportunity to do in spaces and with financial support.
Community, arts and technology with machine learning algorithms. And one of the ways that we've been dealing with that with Mod Foundation is through the artists. Artists are kind of the best interface to understand culture because they catalyze the relationship in a symbolical, and some of them is they are engineers also on the medium level, and through that dynamic we bring kind of a different approach to machine learning or artificial intelligence, which is the dynamic of building yourself your model and being aware what a model does when you use it. And I think that's very important in our society in general. We are facing a lot of critical dynamics that we all know what it's about because of the internet. And kind of the machine learning is exacerbating these dynamics of spoiling or consuming the data of the users to create markets that are focused on revenue. And so we are paying $20 for ChatGPT for training the model, and synthesize our culture and our knowledge. So that's kind of the relationship, and that's interesting also because technology is ubiquitous. It's not good or bad.
Yeah.
It could be both things at the same time. So the best thing that you can have is a critical approach, or at least you need to have context. For example, in Mod Foundation, what we try to achieve is that through the artists. And tomorrow we have an event, which is an artist, sound artist that work with artificial intelligence, or the concept of artificial intelligence and sound, or what the difference between digital sounds and analogic sounds, how the analogic sounds lose quality and the digital no, and it's very interesting. So I invite you to participate. It's online, so everybody can go. That's kind of, we need to interface the critical aspect. Otherwise, we are losing the actual dynamics that are moving all those investments that are backing this, platform.
Basically, in order to validate that what you're doing, I mean, it's not easy to work with AI. It takes a lot of time. It's not easy to work with technology. I mean, they were having technological issues as we're getting set up, and we have to deal with that as well as part of the process. And we also have to teach museum and gallery people how to set up our work and how to keep it running and how to engage with it as well too. So, there's a lot of challenges. In my first year, I cried and was like, I don't think this is for me. And then the second year, I was like, well, how can I make people feel what I feel? And that really helped me to transform the way in which I create right now, and the embracing of the technology, and being here today with all these amazing people and all of you.
What a
Human task force, and they put a task out there. Hey, we want you to look at 1,000 images. We'll pay you a penny an image, or a fraction of a penny an image, and we want you to label it for us. And they were able to do that at scale. And if you've ever looked at a website, you have an image. Those images have an alt tag that'll show text if it doesn't get displayed. They use that text as the description, as the label for the image. Well, right off the bat, if that text isn't right, the description of that image isn't right, and that's the image the model may use if you type in a matching text, and so that's off right there. But it's really good. Again, we got that general model as a starting point, but I think we got to take it from there.
I think that I like that.
I wanna know what love is.
I want you to show me.
Oh, this was the wrong talk. I'm so sorry. My name is Meaghan Kent, and I'm the Deputy Director now at MoCA, and I'm an independent curator. I have, I'm sorry, I'm a little nervous. I've lived in Miami for about 5 years, also lived in New York for about 15 years, and in Mexico for 3 years, and so I've been in the arts for about 25 years now. And I also teach art history and history of photography. And so with all of this knowledge and just experience and kind of moving in these different worlds and realms, AI has just kind of become part of that history. It kind of flows into part of that history. I love that at the schools that I teach at, that it's part of the teaching and the curriculum, that it was something I had to learn and then have to learn how to share it with the students. I've curated some exhibitions, very proud of an exhibition with AdrienneRose last year at the Art and Culture Center, and then most recently in December I curated an exhibition called Visions. One of the artists is here, Disney, Dina Sabi, and that spoke a lot about thinking about the evolution of technology, and used a number of pieces that incorporated AI, which included Disney and Tiffany Trenda, and some really wonderful artists were included in that. And so I would say that probably my perspective has a more historical approach, and also a really open-minded approach.
My name is Andrew McLees. I'm the Art and Digital Innovation Manager at Locust Projects. My role at Locust Projects is a little bit unique. I'm a part of the Night Digital Initiative, so I'm technically part of my foundation and Locust Projects. So what I do is I oversee Locust Projects' investment in technology, as well as how we interpret it for both audiences and artists. So artists have questions. We don't have answers, but we absolutely work with them to kind of get to some place that allows them to create the most experimental, boundary-pushing, risk-taking art they possibly can. We occupy a bit of a messy middle as the institution that separates the artist from the technology. in the sense that we're the messy middle between impact and innovation. So we want to make sure that our artists are using these and thinking about these tools, critically, and making sure that they're a part of the artistic practice. But we also want to be able to create conversation around all of this. So ideally, we see it as something to be thought about and explored and used as a tool for art making. So anyways, we've done so through exhibitions, but more recently as part of our Locust Late at the Digital Innovation Lounge and Lab, which I oversee. I'm so glad I have somebody here, Alec Jerome, who's also participated in that space as an artist who works in AI and 3D. And I'm really excited to dive a little bit deeper into that with everybody on the panel today.
To remember what my name is. One, I might be looking at my phone just to keep me on the rails so I don't go off into, when I get nervous, I just go off and forget what I have to say. So be cool, people, be cool. I'm AdrienneRose Gionta. I'm an interdisciplinary artist with a background in visual arts, digital media, and creative technologies. My journey into algorithms began with the Sims gaming platform. That might date me. A little ad lib. And it sparked my fascination with the complex behaviors driven by code. As both a collaborator and a researcher, I explore generative AI's outputs, biases, and algorithmic behavior. My work focuses on how human engagement can address and retrain biases in AI programming to foster inclusivity and holistic perspectives. By delving into the complexities, I create art that both collaborates with and challenges technology, and today I'm excited to share these experiences and influences with all of you, and thank you for having me.
I'm a solutions architect with AWS during my day job, and outside of that, I love helping others understand AI and learning how to take advantage of the AI technology. Been doing technology for a long time, like some of you probably, and really fascinated by how we had the internet and everything computers could do, and now we have computers that can write poems, draw pictures, make movies, and it's really incredible. And I look forward to having some time to talk to you today to help you understand how we can use different technologies to take advantage of AI and give you my perspective on where I see all this technology going.
So my name is Rodolfo Peraza. I am an artist and I work with technology, and since the beginning of my career I was very focused on the public space. I started using computers in Cuba where computers were not available. So I think part of my artist process is connected with the very specific context where I roll. Since the University of the Arts, I started using computers for creative designs. I have some tattoos here that can prove that. So I modified the public street system, creating like a new narratives, and I place back to the public space. Since then, I've been dealing with computers, creating video games and works that should be connected to the internet, but I was in Cuba, so imagine. Part of that process bring me a career that as a conceptual artist, I use technology as a medium, which is not different from using, a canvas or any other medium. The main difference is that the medium that you are using, it has a specific connotations. In 2010, I have to leave Cuba, not because I want to. And then since then, I have the opportunity to get everyday connection to the internet and having a human-based understanding of what technologies does to society in general in a different way. In 2016, I had the opportunity to found Mad Foundation, which is a non-profit organization that I think is the only one that is native in Miami, focused on art and technology. At that moment, we organized an international event, which was the Art Hub Data, focused on internet digital footprints. We modify an internet police car. We convert that police car in a hotspot. We give free internet to the people. and we visualize on real time the digital footprints using web VR at that moment. No? So all my career is connected with the artists and with the kind of project organizer, and I'm happy to be here discussing the topic of artificial intelligence or machine learning. Thank you so much for organizing this event with these excellent panelists. So.
Thank you, Rodolfo. Amazing. Thank you.